Tikoloshe, everything we know. In the world of supernatural and paranormal events, the Tikoloshe isn't a name that comes up very often. However, when it does, it tends to leave people quite rattled. If you've ever wanted to know about the Tikoloshe, this article will cover all of the most compelling information we have found. What do we know about the Tikoloshe? The Tikoloshe, also spelled Tikoloshe, is a supernatural entity that is said to share similarities with dwarfs, fairies, zombies, poltergeists, gremlins, Bigfoot, and elves. These entities are considered to be very evil, harmful, and mischievous. They are small and have been described to look like zombie gremlins. However, depending on how the Tikoloshe presents itself, this information can make them quite hard to spot. Many have claimed that the Tikoloshe likes to torment and wreak havoc on the lives of others, which is very similar to the actions of a poltergeist. They are usually only present when an evil-minded witch, wizard, or shaman wants to harm somebody else. However, many have claimed that the Tikoloshe doesn't need any summoning or reason to torment a village. Apparently, they will do so without a specific target in mind. The Tikoloshe are feared because of their ability to cause illness, rape, and in some cases, death to the people that they come in contact with. They have various powers, weaknesses, strengths, and characteristics that make them incredibly unique. There are various ways to deal with a Tikoloshe, however, there aren't many ways to get rid of them completely. There's a lot of speculation if the Tikoloshe is an evil entity tormenting the peoples of South Africa, or if it was a way to describe and deal with mysterious deaths in the villages. Either way, the Tikoloshe is very real for many of the residents in South Africa. Knowing how to spot one and deal with it is very important. What does the Tikoloshe look like? The Tikoloshe has many different appearances which can confuse people if one is ever around. However, there is a reason behind this abundance of descriptions. The Tikoloshe has been known to change its appearance and shape. Fortunately, it isn't too drastic and they don't appear to be able to pick and choose how they want to look that day, it just happens. The most common description of a Tikoloshe is a very small gremlin. They appear to have their eyes gouged out and use other heightened senses to get around. They have been described to have a withered, gray body with bony fingers. Their bodies are incredibly small and comparable to a child, which makes getting around and sneaking into homes quite easy. One of the physical features of a Tikoloshe appears on its head. There is a hole in the Tikoloshe's skull that appears to have been made by a fire poker or rod. The other most common description of a Tikoloshe is a large bear, Bigfoot, or Sasquatch-like creature that is more commonly found in North America. They are said to be incredibly hairy, dark, and tall. The final aspect of the Tikoloshe that makes them easy to spot is the Tikoloshe's genitalia. They are known to have an extremely long penis when compared to the size of their small body. This aspect seems to only be present when the Tikoloshe is in a gremlin state, not when it is maintaining a Bigfoot or bear appearance. Where did the Tikoloshe originate? The Tikoloshe originated in South Africa. They are most popular in the areas where the Zulu and Xhosa people live. To create a Tikoloshe, a shaman, wizard, or witch must take a corpse, gouge out its eyes, cut out its tongue, and drive a heated iron rod through the center of its skull. This action causes the body to shrink to the size of a small child. The creator must then blow a magic powder into the mouth of the Tikoloshe, where it will then come to life. Is the Tikoloshe harmful? While the Tikoloshe has spread fear across South Africa, it does not always cause physical harm to others. In a lot of cases, the Tikoloshe has simply been used as a story to scare misbehaving children. As if we needed any more monsters to keep us up at night. The irony of this is that the Tikoloshe has rarely been said to bother children, and there is uncertainty to whether or not children can even see them in the first place. There is also uncertainty to whether anyone but the cursed can see the Tikoloshe. However, the people who have spotted or experienced the Tikoloshe say that it is much more than a scary story. Once created, the Tikoloshe is sent to harm the enemies of the Creator by biting off the toes of sleeping people, raping men and women, causing illness, and even death in some cases. Does the Tikoloshe have any weaknesses? The Tikoloshe is not known to be very weak. Even though their stature is small and looks quite frail, they are exceptionally strong. However, in terms of other weaknesses, the Tikoloshe is known to be scared of fire and is often deterred by the smell of smoke. What makes the Tikoloshe so powerful? The Tikoloshe is quite strong, and unfortunately, there isn't much information to explain why. However, zombies and other undead creatures are usually abnormally strong because of their inability to feel pain. Nevertheless, the Tikoloshe does have a strength that gives it an upper hand. Much like the gremlin that the Tikoloshe has been compared to, the Tikoloshe is also affected by water. However, unlike gremlins, the Tikoloshe don't multiply, they become invisible. This makes it impossible to see them and gives them an automatic upper hand and added strength. Is there any way to deter the Tikoloshe? There doesn't appear to be any way to deter Tikoloshe. If a witch, shaman, or wizard wants to cause harm to you, the Tikoloshe is inevitable. However, there are some ways to avoid the Tikoloshe once it has been sent your way. One of the most common ways to ward off the Tikoloshe is to raise your bed off the ground with bricks. This newly added height prevents the Tikoloshe from biting off toes or extending its penis to rape men and women in bed. Disturbingly gruesome, right? Due to the Tikoloshe being terrified of smoke and fire, it could be helpful to sleep with a fire going or a light candle if it is safe to do so. Storing your clothing close to the fire can also aid in keeping the Tikoloshe away, as you will constantly smell like smoke, their biggest fear. Many sources have said that if you do happen to see a Tikoloshe, you must never talk about it to anyone. The more you talk about it, the more likely it is to find you and cause more pain and suffering in your life. If you happen to have a Tikoloshe infestation, you can contact a spiritual healer. Spiritual healers are the only proven way to banish a Tikoloshe from your home. However, they cannot prevent them, they can only deal with them once they have made an appearance in your life. Is it possible to prove the Tikoloshe is just a myth? There have been many instances where the Tikoloshe has been considered just a part of Zulu mythology. However, there are even more instances where they haven't been able to claim the events as just a hoax. One explanation to part of the Tikoloshe myth is that the people of South Africa used this folklore as a way to explain why people in their villages were dying randomly in the night. The people in this area of South Africa sometimes slept on the floor near a wood fire that would keep them warm at night. However, the fire would sometimes deplete the oxygen levels and create carbon dioxide, which would rest low to the ground where people were sleeping. This would ultimately kill many of them. They eventually realized that sleeping off the ground and above some bricks would help evade the carbon dioxide, or as they would call it, the Tikoloshe. Related questions: has the Tikoloshe been seen outside of South Africa? Outside of the horror film that was made about the Tikoloshe, this creature has never been spotted outside of South Africa. This might be because the Tikoloshe is created in South Africa and probably can't take a flight or walk elsewhere. Are the Tikoloshe and Bigfoot the same thing? The Tikoloshe has been described as looking like Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Many have asked if they are the same thing. The short answer is no. Bigfoot and Sasquatch are entirely different creatures that share little to none of the same characteristics, except for some of their appearance. They don't share any of the same powers or weaknesses. Bigfoot and Sasquatch haven't even been known to cause harm to people at all.